Hi, my name is Alice, and today we're going to talk with you about product analytics. And actually, it is the key to success. It is the key to monetization of your product. Let's imagine that we make with you some kind of messenger, like Telegram or WhatsApp, and there are many important metrics which you should monitor on the daily basis. For example, it can be retention of users, conversion rate from onboarding to the first message, or the quantity of errors per users. And actually, when we build the P&L model of the product, it becomes quite transparent then. The higher retention, for example, you have, the higher income per user, the higher lifetime value of users you also have. Let's imagine that the retention of your messenger now, which you have already launched, is about 15%. It's quite low retention. It means that from every 100 users that come to your application, just 15 of them stay there on the regular basis. And it means that you need to invest a lot of money to the marketing, to the bonus programs to these users and so on. And just better product metrics as retention or conversion rates or some other product metrics, they honestly allow you to economize dozens of millions of dollars on marketing, bonus program, and some other attraction or retaining stuff. So that is why it's quite important to invest in product analytics. So let's start with the types of analytics. There are many types of analytics, like product analytics, marketing analytics, and business analytics. And unfortunately, many companies, they mix them. The problem is that they use tools which dedicated for one task for solving other tasks. So let's deep inside that. So the type number one is product analytics. Product analytics is dedicated to the metrics which are not dependent from the traffic which goes to your application. So the goal of product analytics is to understand the efficiency of software you develop. So the examples of product analytics metrics is retention, is lifetime value, it's all kinds of conversion rates. And the data used for product analytics is actually all the data which is collected, which is logged in your web or app application. So to be simple, all the clicks that users make in your application, they are tracked, and this data is used for building product analytics metrics. So the most efficient and best tool for product analytics, in my opinion, are Mixpanel or Amplitude. The second type of analytics is marketing analytics, and the goal of it is to understand the customer acquisition cost for different channels and different groups of people. As example of metrics for marketing analytics are such metrics as CTR or conversion rates for different kinds of banners. And the data used for marketing analytics is the data collected in such marketing platforms as Google Analytics or Facebook Analytics. So honestly, the marketing analytics is dedicated to understand, do you target the right customers? Do you show them the right banners? Do you have the right call to action? And so on. Because from my experience, for example, let's imagine that we sell cars, we are online dealership as Carvana or UK-based Kazoo, and we try to sell cars online, and different banners, they can bring different results, even if they implement it with the same design system, even if they have the same car, for example, I don't know, Porsche 911 in the picture. If in case they have different call to actions, the conversion rate can be dramatically different, and that's the case. That is why it's very important, it's very essential to understand which creatives and which target groups work better in marketing analytics. And the third kind of analytics is business analytics. Honestly, it's the most popular type because large companies, they are okay for buying such platforms as Tableau or Power BI, and as far as they have the license of these companies, they try to implement all the kind of analytics, including product analytics, in such instruments as Tableau and Power BI. The goal of business analytics, in my opinion, is firstly to check the business KPIs, to build the dashboards which monitor the general efficiency of your business. The examples of metrics used for business analytics is revenue of company, income, net profit, or cost of this company. And the thing is that the beauty of business analytics is that it combines the different data sources. So business analytics should combine product analytics, marketing analytics, and the data from your software, the data from your marketing platforms, the data from your business reports, the data from your underwriting department, and so on. So the beauty of business analytics is that it should combine the data from different sources, but it should not be dedicated to specific goal as product analytics. So why you should not use such analytics tools as Tableau or Power BI for product analytics? Firstly, such services as Amplitude, in comparison, for example, with Tableau, they allow you to collect the instant data, and it's very easy to realize there. Secondly, they have astonishing interfaces, so even your developer or your DevOps engineer and somebody else can easily use Amplitude or Mixpanel and build their dashboard there without any specific courses. Thirdly, there are a lot of ready templates in such platforms as Amplitude, as client's lifecycle, retention report, conversion rate reports, and so on. So you actually can build dozens of dashboards from scratch within 1 hour, for example. Then Amplitude allows you to combine analytics from different platforms easily. For example, if you make after marketplace and you have iOS, Android application and web application, it's easy to combine the logs from all of these services and build the common reports to measure the efficiency of every platform where your product was launched. And most of all, the Amplitude or Mixpanel, they collect the metadata of your users and even devices of these users by default. So by default, you can see which platforms do they use, which operating system do they use, in which country, in which city. So what do you need to start to work with product analytics? Like on the first step, you need to define your North Star metric. It's the main metric of your application, judging by which you can easily say whether your product now, in the current moment, is successful or not. For example, Slack, the most powerful corporate messenger. Of course, Microsoft can fight with it, but Slack, they had such an interesting North Star metric as the quantity of companies who reach 10,000 messages inside the app. It was interesting because they have started to implement this metric even for monetization. So later, when the company started to achieve this limit of 10,000 messages, Slack started to integrate monetization and ask company, please, you need to pay us for that. Of course, I'm not sure that the limit was 10,000. It just, I do not remember the exact number. So that's why maybe I just imagine it. After you have defined the North Star metric, you should define all other metrics which you're gonna use inside your analytics tools. And there are many frameworks which can help you to understand which metrics you should monitor. The first framework is called HEART framework, like HEART. And it was developed by Google. It allows you to divide all your metrics in different groups like happiness, engagement, adoption, retention, and task success, and understand which metrics are included in every group. And most of all, it allows you not to forget some important metrics to include them in the product analytics tool. So let's take a look on the template of this HEART framework. The first group in HEART framework is customer happiness. And the goal of the happiness is to track the user satisfaction. The signals of this group can be that users give you good feedback during customer development or other kind of surveys, or they just say that your product is awesome during the interviews. And the metrics which can help you to understand do your user has good happiness about your product or not is like it is satisfaction rate, net promoter score, or voice of customer, or just average estimation of your product inside the Apple or Google store. The second group is user engagement. It allows you to understand how your users are engaged inside the using of your product. Which signals can has a positive engagement. For example, it's the amount of time users spend inside your app, or its quantity of messages that the users send inside your messenger, or its quantity of photos that your users like inside your photo album or some Instagram app. And the most popular metrics here, it's like number of shares, it's average session length, it's page per user visited, and so on. The third group is customer adoption, and the goal here is to maximize the efficiency of user onboarding. The good adoption you can see by app downloads, the raising app downloads, of course, it's new registrations, it's penetration of your new features. In case you make some kind of messenger as Telegram, it means that you have better onboarding process and the adoption is better. It's just share of users who have downloaded your application and started messaging on day one. The fourth group of metrics, it's a retention group. And as always, in my opinion, it's the most important one because retention shows you how you are capable to retain your active users. Because the higher the retention, the higher the share of active users, the higher income you have, and the lower amount of money you should invest in marketing because your product works sufficiently. For example, for messengers, it's okay when you have retention rate in the level of 50% or 60%, but it's bad when your daily retention is lower than 30%. It means that you will invest like significant amount of money to attracting your users. And the final group of metrics in HEART framework is the task success metrics. It's just the most easy but the most important group because here you should track that finally your clients buy car or they buy your special subscription like for your messenger and so on. So it allows you to understand how much clients have finally reached the success inside your application. The next type of framework, it's AARRR framework. I cannot pronounce AARRR like tiger. AARRR. It's a framework which consists of 5 letters and each of letter just defines the step of this funnel. And actually R is it's not a programming language. R, it is the vertical framework, and it allows you to understand what conversion rate and what other metrics do you have in each step of onboarding, using and retention of your product. So it's like some kind of funnel. And while the HEART framework was the horizontal one, so we just divided the metrics to the blocks, metrics dedicated to some goal. The AARRR framework is a vertical framework because it allows you to understand the efficiency of all metrics in every step of usage of your product. So let's look on this template. For example, in Alpha Bank, when we have launched the online leasing process, we used AARRR framework even for dividing the composition of the teams. And AARRR consists of 5 stages. So the first step of our framework, it's acquisition step. It allows you to understand how many of your clients who went to the website finally made requests in your website. In case we sell with you leasing products, we can understand what is the share of clients who made requests from our website for buying some car with specific conditions which he has calculated in calculator, which he has calculated on the website. And here we pay attention to the conversion rate from the visit of the site, unique visit of this website, to the request. The second stage, it's activation stage. Here we can track the conversion rate from request to the final deal. For example, we have 100 clients who yesterday has applied for our leasing and have chosen the car they want to buy using leasing. And after underwriting, after some other drop-off, after bad conditions which we finally have approved to the client, we have many clients who leave us. And eventually we have just 10 clients who was activating and we made the tranche of money to their accounts and they started to pay for leasing. That means that we have quite a bad activation because 10% activation in credit in loans products, it's a bad rate. We need to raise it to 15 or 20%. The third stage of our framework, it's retention stage. Again, here we need to understand how do we retain the user. In case of leasing, it will be quite hard retention because we need to calculate the 3 years retention, not like typical 1 day or 1 week retention as we can calculate for messengers. Then we have referral rate, and it is actually important because it just reminds you that you need to realize some kind of referral program. And here we need to calculate how many new clients each your current clients acquires. Usually it will be the number lower than 1, but you should work on this number and make it like every one your client will attract additional 1 client. And the final group of metrics here is revenue. And revenue just shows you what is LTV of your users. Eventually, I want to highlight that our framework is horizontal framework, and it starts from acquisition of clients, activation of them. Then it comes to the how you are capable to retain this client and generate money on them or generate activity from them. Then we see how do they refer, how do they recommend our product. And finally, we see what is the final lifetime value of each user which we have. In the next block of steps, you need to draw the metrics tree. Of course, it's not the tree which is staying in the courtyard of your house. It's just the tree which combines the most important metrics which you track. The table frameworks as R or HEART, they allow you to understand the structure of your metrics, and they allow you to generate this metric at all, to understand you the maximum range of metrics which you can have generally. However, the metric tree allows you to understand the dependency between all metrics. And most of all, it allows you to understand which metrics finally influence your North Star metric, how they influence it, and what is the transition between all of them. Let's take a look on the template of this metric tree for banking application for business. For example, so the North Star metric here is the monthly share of clients who make actions with transactions inside the app. I just remind you again that it's the application for business, and every transaction can be created and can be signed. And of course, the DAO, MAU, WOW, daily active users, monthly and weekly who create transactions and sign transaction, they influence these metrics directly. And let's go from the bottom to the top. Which metrics influence this North Star metric? Of course, it's daily, monthly and weekly active users who create and sign transactions inside our app. Of course, it is the depth of use inside our app. The best tool for showing the depth of use is of course conversion rate. We have conversion rate from login inside our app to final transaction, and it can be decomposed for these stages. Is conversion from login to create transaction, conversion from create transaction to open specific transaction page. Then after the visiting create transaction page, the user can open specific transaction as like home payment transaction, P2P transaction, or transaction for different business account. Then after the opening of specific transaction page, he can create transaction fulfilling the data of this transaction, and then he can immediately sign and complete transaction. And all these conversion rates we should track because they influence the depth of use and it influences the North Star metric. On the right side, we can see the regularity metrics. It can be the average frequency of authorizations per user per month. It can be average number of conducted transactions per user per month, or average number of dialogues in chat of our banking application. Also, I like the sticky factors. Sticky factor shows us what is the share of monthly active users who make some specific actions on the daily basis. For example, if we have high sticky factor for transactions, it means that the most of users who use our app monthly, they conduct transactions on the daily basis. It is good stickiness for our app. On the top of our metric tree, it's some basics metrics as DAO, WOW and MAU, and they're influenced of course by the happiness of our users. It's like average estimation in the store, average estimation inside the app, share of clients who had at least one mistake in our app, and share of clients who had at least one complaint for our support. And on the left side, you can see retention metrics, my favorite ones, which I love. It's login retention, weekly and monthly login retention. It's transactions retentions, weekly and monthly. It's churn rate for login and churn rate for transactions. As far as you see, all these metrics, they transit to each other. And finally, they influence our monthly share of users who make transactions inside our business application. After you have defined your metrics tree and your North Star metric, you can start to build your analytics system. I prefer always to use Amplitude because in my opinion it's a genius instrument. Again, it's not marketing from my side, don't take money for it from Amplitude headquarters. But nevertheless, what is the advantages of Amplitude? Firstly, it is event-based analytics. You can track every event inside your app, every click, every subscription, every payment. The whole data is close to online. Like every second you get the updated data about each user inside your app. It is easy to use even for your developers. So even your developers, after half an hour educational tutorial from you, they can start to build the dashboard inside Amplitude. From my experience, my developers, they have started to build errors dashboards in the Amplitude, and they have started to track errors, in what platforms these errors occur, when they occur, and so on. And it helped them to raise the quality of application we develop. It also a lot of templates inside the Amplitude which you can instantly use. Many metadata in Amplitude is tracked by default as operation system, mobile, geographical data, and so on. And of course, Amplitude has insanely good documentation for developers. So it's quite easy to integrate the SDK of Amplitude. So let's take a look on the Amplitude interface. So here is the main page where you can see like your main attached dashboards. The dashboards have great UI. For example, we developed some kind of messenger with you, and we can see what is the daily active users which we have. Here we can see the penetration of one of our functions. For example, it's smart reply function, when the Telegram or other kind of chat automatically advise you some smart reply without writing even one symbol from you. It is retention. We have terrible retention now, and we should change something. We should, I don't know, fire our board members or do some other stuff. And it is very easy to build dashboards here just by clicking on the interface. For example, we can build the simple funnel of users who come to our app. It is launch first time action, it is phone number entered and SMS code entered. As far as you see, we have quite good conversion rate, it's 96%. And Amplitude allows you to see this conversion during time. It can allow you to see the time to convert, the distribution of time to convert. It allows you to create the cohorts of users. For example, you can build this funnel separately for Android or for iOS users, or you can build this funnel separately for users who came after New Year or before New Year. So you can create any cohort of users and track the efficiency of your metrics for each cohort. Also, Amplitude allows you to create releases, and then you can see these releases inside your graphs. And finally, it allows you to understand after what release, what metrics was changed. And moreover, you can go inside the profile of each user, see all his sessions, all his actions, successful and unsuccessful like errors. And based on the journey of this user, you can fix his errors, or you can generalize some information and build some new astonishing dashboards. So finally, Amplitude is an insanely efficient tool which allows you and your team members, without the help of data and business analysts, track your users, build dashboards, and generate new ideas. So let's sum up. What do you need to build the efficient product analytics ecosystem for growing your product? First, you need to understand what is your North Star metric. Then you need to describe all metrics which you have using HEART or AARRR framework. After that, you need to build the metrics tree to understand the dependency of all metrics which you have. Then, of course, you need to describe all events which you have. Here is like also template for describing events provided by Amplitude. You just need to describe every event, every user or event property which you have, and based on these events, you will finally build the metrics. After that, you need to integrate Amplitude Mixpanel or some other SDK to your development stage. Then you need to integrate the events to log them inside this development stage. Usually it is integrated to the front-end side. Then, of course, you need to test these events that they are triggered in the proper way. And finally, after you have integrated the Amplitude to the production stage, you can track the efficiency of your application and grow it. In conclusion, I want to say that product analytics is very essential framework. It's very essential scope of frameworks to work with your product, because every % of change in your retention or in your conversion rate can bring you like dozens of % of additional income.